today in our hot seat, we have John Fennelly, CEO at Lionbridge. Good to have you, John. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's very exciting for us.
So are you ready for it, you think?
I don't know. I'll let you know when it's over.
Welcome to C-Suite Hot Seat, the show where we put C-level executives from language service providers of all sizes in the hot seat. We will ask tough questions and get inspired answers. Our hosts today are Nimdzi Insights, VP of Consulting, and Sarah Hickey, VP of Research.
So, John, in one sentence, tell us, what is it that your company actually does? What is it that Lionbridge does?
Well, our vision, which I think is very apropos, is to break barriers and build bridges. And so what we really try to do is connect people, and we try to connect cultures, and we try to connect, companies with their audiences and communities. And we do that every day all over the world. And that's effectively what we do, is we help people use language to communicate in ways that are very effective and very meaningful to them. We have a wonderful group of people that is 6,000 strong around the world in 50 cities and 26, 27 countries that do that. And they are an amazing group of people, and it's what makes my job so much fun.
If you could choose 3 countries to travel to for pleasure, which ones would those be?
Oh, that's such a tough question. I mean, it's an easy question in so many respects. The answer is there's so many. It's limited to 3. Yes. So I've been very, very lucky in life on multiple levels, but I've been able to travel the world extensively, and it's one of the joys that I've had. And I've gotten to meet so many amazing people in so many countries, and I feel very, very lucky to have that experience. I wish everybody could have the same experience, because I think it really just shapes your view of people in the world in an extremely positive way. And so, but very specifically, I will pick 3 that I haven't been to. So I've never been to Israel, and I would love to go to Israel. And for many reasons, I have so many friends from there. It is just the cradle of so many parts of the world and civilization, and the whole surrounding area in the Middle East to me is fascinating on multiple levels. There's so many other countries I'd like to go to that are in the Middle East as well, but I would say Israel, just because of the rich history, the culture, and so many different reasons. But I would go there. I'd like to go to South Africa. And I've never been there, but I'd like to go. And again, I probably biased because I have a lot of friends from South Africa, and good, bad, and different. There's lots of things that are happening in South Africa that I'd like to go see. And then I'll pick another place. South America is a place I haven't spent a ton of time, so I'd like to go to Colombia.
When you're not traveling and you're not working, what is it that you like to spend your time on? Do you have any hobbies or other pastimes?
I spend a lot of time with my family, first and foremost. But outside of that, I am a voracious reader, and I am. If I'm not working, I'm reading, or my hobby is golf, and so I play a lot of golf. But reading, golf, family, work. It depends what day. But usually, work is at the top of the list most days. But I love to read. Yeah. Everything, and then just value more and more as I've gotten older. I value my time off much more than I did when I was younger.
Do you have a favorite book or a favorite genre?
Maybe The Great Gatsby. I mean, it's a book I've read multiple times, and it captures just so many things that are happening. So I love that book. I change all the time, John. I read all kinds of stuff, fiction, nonfiction, and then I go away from fiction. I'll read a lot of nonfiction. I go back to fiction. I'm like, oh my God, why did I ever leave fiction? And invariably, I read a book review every weekend, the FT Weekend or the New York Times book reviews. And I end up I buy so many books. I'm like, oh, I have to read that book. And then I buy it right away. And I'm like, and I haven't gotten it. So I have tons of books that I'm lined up to read.
Well, you're the CEO at Lionbridge now. When you were a kid, though, what did you think your job would be as an adult?
Business was always kind of at the forefront of my household. And so my father was a business guy. it was very natural that business would be there. And I know it sounds crazy, but I always did think I wanted to be a CEO. Either that or a professional athlete, and that didn't pan out. So I've been able to follow, kind of not, I don't know if it was a dream, but where I kind of wanted to end up, and it seems to have worked out.
What's the best advice that you've ever been given? Do you have any?
I've been given a lot of advice, and I've been lucky in that respect. And I think that the best advice is just to be yourself and to be real. And I see so many times. I just had a conversation with somebody this morning who made a really nice presentation, but they were, I think, in a corporate persona and not themselves. And I said, just be yourself. It's fine. Everybody expects to be yourself. There's been so many things that have happened with COVID. But I think one of the good things is we've seen people as who they are. I mean, I think this whole virtual setting that we're in right now, and dogs coming in and kids coming into pictures and things like that, which were, oh my goodness, before COVID, I was like, oh my God. Now it's like, oh, please have everybody come in. It's, and it's, and it's a whole different, but I think people have become much more authentic and just, we've seen the real people more and more. And I think that's so much better. So be true to yourself. Try to be, not to be somebody you are not, with the environment that we live in right now, which is, highly polarized and highly complicated. That I think not being authentic, you actually run a great risk by taking that direction, right? And for better or worse, I think you have to be out there and, be true to yourself and let people know who you are. I've never been worried about people knowing who I am, right? And I think some other people in similar positions are. And so I think what you see is what you get.
We're going to crank it up a notch now, John, and go into more business-related questions.
Okay.
What was your first breakthrough moment? Did you have something that you can recall?
This goes back a while. I had a job in a software company. The company was not doing well, and I kept getting promoted because people kept leaving, and the company was in disarray. And it was the most valuable work experience I ever had in my life because I was allowed to just screw up royally and nobody knew. So I would make all these mistakes and I was very young, but I kept getting promoted. And I think a lot of times if you don't have the ability to fail, it's very hard to succeed.
Yes.
Fortunately, I was cognizant enough to recognize that, okay, things weren't actually great, but I had the ability to course correct, make them much better and actually become, successful at that. And then on a personal level, the thing that did change, I became much more serious about life when I had a child. In retrospect, my career really kicked into high gear. At that point, I became, I was already pretty motivated, but highly motivated, to say the least.
Can you tell us about something that you would maybe consider your biggest failure or mistake and what you learned from it?
Not going fast enough at times. It may sound counterintuitive, but knowing that some things were going to play out and then just letting them take longer to play out than they should have. I think you try to do the right thing, but at the end of the day, it actually is counterproductive. Just do it. Don't wait, right? Because you're trying to there's a lot of emotions that come into it. You're trying to do the right thing by people. But at the end of the day, I don't think you're doing anybody a favor by doing that, right? On a much more concrete level, some decisions you make around, which I have, right? On, allocation of capital to bets on development and things that or companies you're buying. Not a perfect track record. I don't think anybody does. And so some of those, but again, I think the more important thing is to look back and say, okay, what did you do right? And what did you do wrong? And everybody makes mistakes, but if you learn from the mistakes, then you can become better. Yeah. What I always find interesting is a lot of people don't learn from their mistakes and they repeat the same mistakes over and over again.
What does success mean to you? Because it can also be a very subjective word, similar as failure as well. What does success mean to you?
Yeah. So as a CEO of a company, the obvious metrics are, share price or revenue or profit. I mean, there's a lot of people that are very interested in those metrics, and they're a scorecard at the end of the day, right? But I look at it, if you put everything you have into something and you don't leave anything on the table and you leave no stone unturned and you're passionate about it, and you can do that and you can really, really be unencumbered and do that, that's success. And then the outcome takes on its own course, but you have no regrets, right? Because you've put everything you can into it. And so I always look at it, if you can remove the negative obstacles and the negativity and all the people that want you to fail, and you can move forward and you can be successful in your own mind because you've had a plan, you've given it everything that you could possibly give it, then you're successful.
In your own opinion, in your own words, what do you think makes you a great leader?
You're only as good as the people around you. And I think if you have really good people in a company or on a team, your chances of success are much higher. And you have to listen, and you have to respect people's opinions, and I think you have to touch people down in the organization so that they know that they have a voice, and that they know that there is somebody listening, and that you're cognizant of what is happening. And so I think it is really making sure that you can set a direction, that the people in the organization feel that they can buy into that direction, and then you go forward. And I think what you also have to do, back to my very first comment about being yourself, you have to be yourself, and you have to live and act in the way you would expect other people to think you should act. You see it in companies all the time. When people lose confidence in leadership, that's when you start to have real issues at companies. Yeah. And I think it's important that people, they may not agree with you all the time, but they know who you are, and they know that you're true to your convictions and your beliefs, and you lead by example.
What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs starting their own business in the language industry today?
Believe. I think it's my hat is always off to anybody who can start a business and overcome all the obstacles that are out there. And I think what's really cool about life is sometimes you do some things that are pretty good, and then you look back and go, wow, I can't believe we did that. And I think sometimes if you think about how hard it is, you can't do it because oh my God, it's so hard. How could I do that? But then you just believe. I have an investment in a very small startup. It's a young person that is the CEO, entrepreneur, and he believes that he is going to conquer the highest mountains, and there is no shaking that belief in him. And it's a beautiful thing to see because he truly passionately believes in it. And I'm rooting for him every step of the way, more from a life perspective than anything else, because to me, it's such a cool story. That's it. I mean, if you have to have the passion, you have to have the belief that you can be successful, because the odds are stacked against you.
Okay, that's it. Thank you so much, John. I was really being selective with my questions because I wanted to ask you so many more, but we're obviously very conscious of your time. You're a busy man.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
If anyone else feels like letting off some steam and you're part of the C-suite at a company in the language services industry, sign up with us if you dare to sit in our hot seat.
And for the viewers, this was it for today, but look out for our next episode that will be published as a video on MultiLingual TV and as a podcast on the Nimdzi website. We'll see you there.